little multiple choice madness on a Tuesday. So since the Stanley Cup started, Julian, playoffs started, whatever, 5 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago. Whose reputation has changed the most over the course of the playoffs? I'm going to give you 4 names. You tell me, wow, man, my opinion of that guy's really changed the most. A, Sergei Bobrovsky. B, Jack Eichel. C, Kyle Dubas. Or D, Paul Maurice. Who is like at the, you know what? I can take you back 6 weeks ago and say, your reputation of this guy will change significantly. Who's it for you?
All of these people, I'm going to exclude Kyle Dubas from this. But all 3 of those people, you could make legit arguments for. One thing, I don't know if you touched on this or not, but like we've mentioned the fact that Jack Eichel left Buffalo and he goes to Vegas. He's number 2 pick and all that. Remember the neck surgery thing? Remember the fact that he was fighting with Sabres management to get like a particular type of surgery? Like that. Like I still can't believe he recovered from that and he's still playing at a high level. Like that is awesome for him. That being said, I think it's really between Sergei Bobrovsky and Paul Maurice here. And I will just spend a moment on Paul Maurice here because I think of a guy who was in Winnipeg for all those years, had that really interesting core, and they did not get that much out of it. They underwhelmed at different points. And he left and said, you know what, man? I'm just going to go fishing. And how long that fishing trip lasts? All of a sudden, he ends up in Florida, and he takes this President's Trophy winning team, and all of a sudden, we're thinking, okay, like, what's he going to do with this team? They're clinging for their lives to make the playoffs. I've seen people say, like, oh, this team was so much faster last year. They're very different now. And the fact that all of a sudden in the postseason, Paul Maurice has turned them into a team that's within 1 win of a Stanley Cup final. And on top of that, I don't know how much this was noticed before this year. The press conferences, the quips with media. This dude's turned himself into a funny man. Like, I don't know where this all... I didn't know Paul Maurice to be this funny. I know people like him.
You know what?
He is, but like, I think it's on a... Yeah, but I think it's on more of a mainstream level. Like, people would point at so many other coaches and say, oh, this guy gives good quips. I don't think they did it on the level that they're doing now with Paul Maurice. So I think that Paul Maurice deserved a lot of consideration for that choice. But the answer is Sergei Bobrovsky. I mean, I get that he had the 2 Vezina's, and he's now part of 2 of the biggest upsets in recent memory in the Stanley Cup playoffs. But this is a guy who people considered washed for years. He's making all this money.
The contract's the problem.
People considered washed. The contract is the problem, but his stats were also the problem too. There, you could point to games, you could point to moments where you're looking at Sergei Bobrovsky play, and you could say this dude is fighting it, and he's allowing bad goals. There are people who are going back on their mentions right now, and they're like, man, like, I roasted this dude. I know I can go back, and I've seen games where Sergei Bobrovsky was in net, and he did not look good. And Sergei Bobrovsky now is at a point where I think he's the front runner for the Conn Smythe Trophy, and if he wins that and a Stanley Cup, you have to have the discussion about him being a potential Hall of Famer. How many goaltenders have won 2 Vezinas and a Conn Smythe Trophy and a cup? That changes his perception. Like, if he finishes the job, that changes his perception immediately.
I don't disagree. Look, I don't disagree with you. You win multiple Vezinas and then you backstop a team to a cup with a Conn Smythe. That is absolutely into the discussion. And you're right. Like, this is a guy who, not 6-7 weeks ago, we were like, that's the most, that might be the worst contract in the league in terms of an anchor. That might be the biggest, obstacle on any team's payroll. And now you're right. In the span of 6 weeks, were you not shocked yesterday? Like, I didn't realize this until the final buzzer and Chris Cuthbert, as the puck kind of, Florida cleared it down the ice. And he says, Sergei Bobrovsky has his first career Stanley Cup playoff shutout. I was like, what? What do you mean? He didn't have a shutout in that Tampa series in 2019 or anything? I was really surprised by that he got his first shutout on Monday. But I'm with you. Look, we don't even have to have the Conn Smythe Trophy winner of the week debate.
It's him.
Because this guy stopped 132 of 135 shots. Forget it. It's over. Bobrovsky is the winner of the week. And I tend to agree with you. I think my reputation on Bobrovsky has completely, like most fans, done a 180. But now it's interesting, right? Like, what happens in the off? Like, if they win the cup with Bobrovsky, I mean, now you don't even think about trading him, right? Like now he's your guy for the last couple of years of that contract, right? Is that fair to say?
I guess so. I guess you kind of have to. I guess.
I think so.
But even then, like, even if you wanted to move on from that, like, congrats. You want to, I mean, I don't want to say he hasn't even gotten to that point yet, but like, how many teams could reasonably afford that contract?
Nobody.
Like, even
nobody
if you
could.
wanted to move on from that when he's at his highest, like, how many teams want to take a chance on that?
Julian's going to start the Marner for Bobrovsky rumor.
Oh, no, don't do that.
No.
Don't do that. I'm not doing that.
No.
Don't put that on me. If CJ says it, maybe, but don't put that on me. I don't want that rep. I don't want that. I don't want that. If CJ says it, or if Josh Cloak says it, or if Myrtle comes up and says, all right, I got this news, maybe. Don't put that on me because I do not want angry people in my mentions.
Love it.
Don't do that.